So let's start with the setup. Basically, it was just a diffusion set up to block the sun from my face, so I was kind of in the shade, and then the background was just in pure sun. A few things to know: I had an ND9 on this shot. I also had, the shot was a 5.6. That's about a half stop to 3/4 of a stop overexposed. So it wasn't exact exposure, but I did about a 5.6. So you can see right away with the 4K, it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look great. But once you show it with the 4.6K, there's a huge difference. That extra 3 stops of dynamic range brings in those clouds right away. The skin tones look great. You still see that magenta cast on the 4.6K. So with this one, I lit it properly so I could adjust with the color card. So here's the color card, and then here's a full correction on the 4K. And then on the 4.6K, we have the exact same thing. We have color card, and then the full color correction. Now let's look at them back to back. You can see the huge difference between the two. The magenta cast is pretty much gone out of that 4.6K. It matches. The skin tones aren't too far off from each other. It looks great to me. So then what I did was I overexposed about 2 stops. So this is 2 stops overexposed on both cameras. With the 4K, you just start losing all detail on the face with 2 stops overexposed. With the 4.6K, you still have some of that detail in the face. So here's what the color chart did on the 4K, and it just fell apart. It just turned to a blue blob of something, I don't know. But on the 4.6K, I was actually kind of surprised. It held up pretty well. As far as something sort of usable, I would tolerate using a shot like that over the 4K. Now here's 2 stops underexposed on the 2 cameras. The 4K, 2 stops underexposed. So basically we're exposed for the clouds in the sky, not my face. Because the clouds in the sky were about 2.5 stops overexposed from the face. And you can kind of see the differences here. You're still getting that massive magenta tone. So here I did color card, which it didn't really do much, but then the full color correction, I was kind of surprised at how well it pulled back. And then the same thing with the 4.6K. They both looked pretty good until you decided to actually punch in on the image. Here's about 300% punched in, and you can see, I don't know if you can see it on YouTube compression, but there's a huge amount of artifacting and grain and just nasty stuff added into the 4K image. The 4.6K actually still holds up pretty well. So my last test that I did is I wanted to do raw on both of them. So what I did was I did a full-on raw, uncompressed raw, and I did the color chart, and here's the 2 with the color chart. Compared to each other. Now with the 4K, with the raw, you start getting a little bit of those clouds back. You can see that there's just a little bit of detail in the clouds. And then what I did was I added a total crazy look to it. Love it or hate it, I just added, Instagram-y type look just to see how well you can get these 2 cameras to match each other. And actually in the skin tones, I felt like they matched really well. The 4.6K is just, the camera just dominates. You may like the look of the 4K better, but as far as working with the 4.6K in post, it's much easier to adjust colors. It reacts a lot easier. When I was using it in DaVinci Resolve, I had to really push the colors on the 4K versus the 4.6K. I just kind of move my sliders a little bit and it would just adjust quickly. Anyway, guys, I hope this was a good test. Now, this was daylight test. I do want to do one last test where I will set up a fully lit, really nicely, designed shot that's properly exposed for both the 4K and the 4.6K under tungsten light. I do want to see how well the magenta reacts to that. But as far as using a color chart, everything worked out great, and it was fantastic. Thanks, guys. Be sure to subscribe and be watching out for more videos like this.